seriously, what happened? I went away for like a weekend and I came back to find that my entire industry empire is now in tatters. Tatters, I say. So, yeah, Morphite's gone nuts. I think it's to do with it not spawning deep space. Well done, CCP. Good old CCP getting that code in. Spot on, right? Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. I think a lot of what I'm trying to do in Eve at the moment is really kind of reignite and crank myself up. Having done this 1,000 times before, when you find yourself logging in and ship spinning, you sort of think to yourself, well, what am I doing? What am I trying to get out of this game? And I can give you some sage counsel right now. And I call it flipping the table. Others call it doing something different. And I think this is a really interesting kind of thing to do, because I've done this many times. You get bored of something, you think, right, I've got to change something. It's a bit like your marriage, or it's a bit like your mum's marriage. It's boring, there's nothing happening there. That's pretty much a done deal. So the only thing left to do is to flip the table. I call it flipping the table, because it's like you just change. You just try and change everything. Sometimes you do it in kind of a calamitous display of craziness. I actually think in Eve you don't need to do that. So you don't need to, unfortunately, like I've done before, I've flipped the table and literally screwed over a lot of people and done stupid things, and I'm not proud of that, but it's a computer game and it doesn't matter. But that's my opinion of it. I think you don't have to sort of listen to my words here, but I think if you want to change things, you should, because switch sides, go fight for the other person, because so many times in life, usually thanks to Hollywood, we're led to believe that the good guys versus the bad guys is a real thing. I think the Bible teaches us that, actually, but it's all complete nonsense, because there is no such thing as good and bad guys. There's just grey areas. And Game of Thrones really taught this well. I don't know if you've ever seen or read Game of Thrones, but there's not really a good person in Game of Thrones. They're all grey. There's good, there's bad, there's some that are just terrible, but they still have, let's say, redeeming features, but there are also good guys that do terrible things. And I think that's kind of my mantra is you should always be willing to do something, different, and don't worry about too much the consequences. So what I mean by flipping the table for me is probably moving. I think I've been in Caldari space a long time. I find it very blue. It's a very blue region, and blue makes me sad. Whenever you sort of work late at night and your late night filter on your screen pops in. If you don't do that, by the way, you should absolutely be doing that. It's called the blue light filter. Totally recommend setting that up. Give it a go. Seriously, it will change your life. Because it just removes blue light from your face portal. So all of a sudden you don't have this sort of tiredness, because blue light for some reason tires you out late at night. So it just produces like a wonderful warming soft filter. I need to go and find my warm soft filter in Eve. And I think it's probably going to be a Mars space. Yes, I know, a Mars space. It's a terrible place, but I like the idea of maybe just going and disappearing for a while. Now, I've got two ways to do this. It's quite cool, actually, because you could just fill up a bang bus full of stuff, ships. I did this before, actually. It was an Orca. And I had the Stormbringers, I had the Tengus. I just basically fit it out. And I flew, I think it was like 10 accounts, basically, in a little fleet convoy all the way out to Mimitar space. Lived there for a bit, vacationed, if you will. Living out of an RV Orca, seriously, and it was fun. It was really, really fun. The only downside of it is that you're a massive moving target. I was moving something like, 200 billion of ISK assets in an Orca, which is kind of dumb, stupid and dumb in that order, so I wouldn't recommend that. But you don't have to go completely balls to the wall with it. You could just literally take you could take anything. So I think I'm going to do that. The next video you see will be me in a pair of atrocious vacationing shorts and a shirt so loud you can hear it in Droitwich. And we're going to take the Orca and a mini fleet to do some tourism. So there we go, tourism in Eve. Who would have thought? I have actually done this, and I'm going to really show you it because it's so interesting. Like, did you know? I bet you did, but you're going to say, oh, well, yeah, I knew that, but I bet you didn't. There are points of interest in Eve all across the map there's statues, there's unknown things, abandoned things. Did you know that? Bet you didn't. Bet you didn't. And you can go visit them. Somebody's done a map of them as well, which I will find and basically use, because I think that would be a kind of a nice little atlas to go and look around. But there we go. So that's going to be sort of my flipping the table. Post in the comments, what do you do to flip the table? Because I'm not being funny, right? That Morphite thing has just made me not want to do industry for a bit. You can. I mean, you've got to kind of factor these things in when it comes to in industry particularly, is that there are going to be these kind of sweeping price changes. The complication with it, and the bit that really annoys me, is you have to then sit down and really work out, have you got stuff on legacy sell orders that maybe you now need to pull or increase, because you're going to be selling at an even, you're going to be selling at a drastic loss, given that Morphite has tripled in value. I bought that at about 50. It's now 150, 100, 150. It's going there. So for me, I think you've got to try and factor in a lot of data, and I just can't be bothered. I love Eve, but I also don't care about it that much to really make it a third or fourth job for me. So I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take a little vacay. It's time to vacay. And I'm going to load an orca and we're going to go on vacay. So there you go. That's the plan. I can see myself getting ganked immediately. But I'm not going to take anything valuable. We're not going to take anything like marauders or anything like that. I think we might even just do Tech 1 cruisers. Maybe it's thorax fleet time. Interesting. As I think about this, you will be surprised, hopefully, with what we do. So next video, hopefully we're doing vacay. It'll be fun. Industry can just sit for a bit. So I've got a huge amount of stuff that's basically been made that can sit in the station for a while, because, well, I guess I should sell it. I probably will sell it, because it's obviously worth a lot more, because I bought pretty much, I must have bought something like 100 billion of Morphite when it was about 35 or 40. So I could sell it now as well. So there's always, it's like Plex. I bought most of my Plex when it was cheap as well. Most of it was actually through cash, the purchasing of Plex. But I don't really see the point of selling it, because I'm not being funny. When you've got like 1 trillion ISK, what's the point? What's the point of filling up that giant pile of ISK anymore? And yes, I'm showing off. I know I am, but I'm waving my arm around now, basically saying, look, there's this giant pile of gold that I sleep on every night. What's the point of filling it even more? What in the game could I not go and buy and have? Well, you could get a Moloch, a faction Titan. I could. I don't fly any of the Titans I have right now, so what's the point? If I join an alliance, would I fly these Titans? Maybe. But I don't really want to do alarm clock stuff. I don't really want to play the game where I'm expected to poop into a sock and do all that fun stuff. Kind of done all that, and I think my partner will leave me. If she catches me, she'll hear weird noises coming from my office, and she'll open the door and she'll look in and see me squat holding open a sock underneath me, and I'll just look up and go, oh, and she'll leave me. So I think I have limited choices. So you work with what you're given, right? And I kind of like her, so don't mind her being around. I'd rather she be in my life than an advanced Titan of some description. So I'm good. I don't really want that too much. But what else do we do, really? Eve should be fun. I don't see the point of just constantly cycling the same things. He says, doing a level 4 mission for the millionth time. I agree. I ran this mission and I was already kind of like, oh, no more. And I like the thought of actually running missions in a place I've never been before. I think that's actually quite exciting. So another reason to go on our kind of bang bus tour of Amar. And I kind of just think that'd be fun. Like, I don't know if you've ever done that. Bring up the map, go to Eve, whatever it is. I can't remember the name of it, but one of the Eve mapping sources, and just go and look around and go and visit each system. That's kind of fun. Like, if you've never done that, it's absolutely worth it. It's cool if you've got a drink, got a bit of a smoke on the go, just enjoy yourself and, go and basically see the prettiness of this game, set the game to high. And remember that it is a whole universe out there. Again, I think we sort of live in our little constellations or even systems, And we forget that actually there is this very large, multiple thousand, system of planets and stars out there. You should go and enjoy it. So industry will go on hold for a bit. Probably going to look at playing the market a bit as well. So here's something, again, I probably do a video of this as well, but I do get asked quite often, how do I make money when I don't want to sort of do anything? Like I just want passive income. Just give me passive income. Well, I do have some suggestions for you, but again, you're not going to like them. But playing the market becomes a big one. And I don't mean sitting with an alt and Jita and, putting +1 and -1 ISK on everything. I don't mean that. I mean doing things like looking on the e-forums for people selling things. So, a good example of this is blueprints. People will generally sell blueprints for a certain price. There are people who expect the full research price. So, for example, a Titan blueprint is, I'm pulling numbers out my ass, 45 billion. And then you have to do, let's say, 50 billion of research on it now, because obviously, thanks CCP, you made it so that research costs money, thanks. And you then try and sell the blueprint for, let's say, 100 billion, because you're like, well, it's the blueprint plus my effort, brah, and pos fuel or whatever you've done to research it, what do you call it, retardo fuel, whatever. And you sell that for then what you think is 100 billion. 9 times out of 10, if you sit and go to these people, this is where you have to have, as I would like to say in my neck of the woods, a bit of a ball sack about you. You can go to these people and you can make them feel stupid and then buy something from them for less. It's not nice. I'm not saying this is a particularly pleasant way to make money. So I don't want to push this too much, but people do ask me, for example, an apocalypse blueprint, let's say that thing is worth 1 billion, right? In reality, it's about 1 billion, but with the research, let's say 2 billion, for example. Well, if you go to them and say, look, you want 2 billion for this. Are you kidding me? There is a person right next to you who is selling this for 1.1. Come on, that's reasonable. You're never going to get your money back. It's a dead asset. You're literally in a position where you've got 1 billion locked away, cannot get to it. And then you say things like, I bet your subscription's due soon, isn't it, brah? And then probably you'll end up walking away with that for 1.2 billion. Then you sell it for 2 billion. Do you see my point? I have done that so many times. It takes a bit of salesmanship. You have to kind of push people into a place where they're maybe not willing to do it. And remember, walk away from the deal. I mean, gosh, I'm laughing because this is what I did for a job for many years. But you walk away. You say, no, sorry, we can't do business together. This is absolutely ridiculous. There are so many, and you do things like, there are so many other people selling for half of what you want. You are unrealistic with what you're looking for. And the amount of times you'll get an email or something like that the next day saying, go on then, I'll sell you this Thanatos blueprint for basically NPC price. And it's like ME5. So my view of it is, if you're willing to have a bit of a nut sack, it's a horrible vision, I know, but it does work. And I think people, quite honestly, are just, they want the ISK. They'll be selling it. I mean, if they're selling it, they need the ISK. That's the truth of it. In this game, you don't sell anything unless for some reason you need the money. You get people that sell things casually, okay, but generally they still want the money for something. They're still trying to do something like, oh, I'm saving for a Titan. And this is where, again, learn a bit about somebody, find out why they're selling. Oh, that's interesting. You're selling a Nyx blueprint. That's quite expensive. What made you buy it? Did you do it to get to build them? And then you can start to uncover, are they builders? Are they potentially someone who bought it thinking that they could maybe swap it for a Nyx? There's so many things you can find. And what you'll probably find, and this is the dream sale, is you'll find the idiot who bought like an avatar blueprint in the hope that they could go and build it themselves one day. Now, that you can obviously do that, but it's very difficult to do that, and you need an entire logistical chain to do it, and you need the protection and defense of quite a large alliance, really. So you find those people, and then you can start to just learn about them, ask them about why they did it. Oh, did you build it in the end? Was it good? And what you'll start to see is levels of desperation. Now, they may have none. If you literally meet the coolest cat in the world who's like, yeah, I'm selling it, bro, no comment, do you want it, yes or no, then just walk away, because they're not even they're not even possible to be doing a deal with that benefits you. It's all about them. But if you find someone that's like, oh man, I tried to build a Titan, it got blown up, or I made a copy of it, and we built it from a copy, the whole thing got wiped out. I just need to sell it because I just want to go and buy a Titan now. Well, then you've got them, because you can sit there and say, hey, look, I will give you NPC price for it plus 5 bill for your trouble. You then get an avatar blueprint that probably has a number of remember, again, this is something that I've been staggered with, is people who sell, let's say, ME5 PE 0. They are the stupidest people you will ever meet, because to do PE 0 even on a Titan blueprint is a few hundred mil, and it massively increases the value of it because it sounds better. So be looking for those people, because they are wonderfully dumb. And you can do some really good deals. So again, it doesn't have to be Titans, it doesn't have to be carriers, super carriers, capitals, whatever. It could just be cruisers, it could be frigates even. But you want to try and remember that you're dealing with a human, and humans are ultimately flawed. So, and it is a joust. Think of it as a bit of a joust. You're, stomping on your mighty steed towards somebody else who's trying to knock you off your horse. See it as a joust, but be civil. Be nice, and most importantly, be likable. If you get on with the people you're selling to or with, then they'll probably also do you a bit of a deal as well. So it doesn't have to be you do a deal there and then. It could be, okay, all right, that's your offer. Okay, let me go away and think about it. I'm going to talk to some other people. There are people selling this and that. They're a bit cheaper, so it may be that I do a deal with them. But look, I tell you what, I'll let you know if I don't buy it, or let's talk again in a day. And guaranteed 9 times out of 10, you'll probably find that they're still selling in a day. And then you can say again, oh, how you doing? How's your day? What did you do? What did you get up to in Eve? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's just do a deal. I'll give you this right now. Let's just do the deal, get it done, and let's have a chat. And again, it's amazing how many people will just say, okay, and they'll just sell to you. So do try that. I mean, again, talked an awful lot there about sort of playing the market. I cannot stress enough how fun it is as well. It's actually one of my pastimes when I don't want to play the game too much. I do, I use alts to do this because obviously my name is slightly known in certain circles, so I have to be slightly careful. But amazing the amount of people that basically are willing to just have a conversation about what it is they're selling, why they're selling it, and so on. And then when you're in the other position, so you've now bought the thing and you're trying to sell it with a markup, just go straight for the throat. Just literally be merciless and say, right, I want this. And again, 9 times out of 10, I would say that deals are done quite quickly when you're selling, because if you find someone who's not even willing to haggle, like they're just like, yep, there you go, here's the money. They're just gold. They're gold. They're exactly what you want out of the game. But there we go. So another thing that I'm trying to do in this game, and this is called the BHAG. You may have heard of this concept, BHAG, BHAG. And it's called the Big, Hairy, Audacious Goal. Now, what's that about? It's a very buzzwordy, businessy, bollocky thing, but the reason I quite like it is because I think everybody in every stage of their life should have a BHAG. And it should be, I mean, again, other people call it like star ordering and things like that. I don't subscribe to that. I think it's more about what would be the biggest, most incredible thing you could do. And Eve is a wonderful example of this, because again, you could do anything in this game, but you won't be able to kind of go towards it unless you have that audacious goal. So the big, hairy, audacious goal, big BHAG. I like this concept. It's served me well in my life, and I'm applying it now to Eve. And I think my kind of BHAG for Eve used to be, and I'll tell you what it used to be, but it's not now. Used to be my own little constellation, deep space. I'm part of an alliance. I can go and fight whenever I want, and I have my Titans, my supercarriers, my capitals. I have my whole fleet, and basically I just occupy part of this game, and it's mine. Okay. Then wormholes came in, and I did achieve that BHAG, by the way. I should just point that out. That was my life in this game for an awful long time. Then wormholes came out. Now, I didn't play the game too much when wormholes came out, but to me, that became probably the next BHAG, is to say, oh wow, the thought that you could live and own a wormhole. completely free from everyone else. You know, learning how to roll wormhole gates, you can keep them pretty much closed. I love all that. I know you can't really do it anymore, but I just think wonderful stuff. And so I think when you look at this game now, the BHAG, you should try and think to yourself, well, what do you want to try and achieve? And I think my BHAG at the moment is much more about how, let's say they switched EVE off in a year's time. Let's say they said, right, we've got 1 year left to play on this game. What would your goal be? And for me, it's going to be to say that I've visited every system, maybe not every system like wormholes, but maybe every system that's, let's say, gateable. And I've been, and I have lived in every region for at least a month. Because I like that thought. I think there's something, like I used to live in Sancha space, for example. It was really cool. You know, I'd love to live in Blood Raider space. I think these are kind of interesting. I'd love to jump through the alliances as well, so you can kind of live in one, live in the other. But I think alliances are obviously super secret, serious business stuff that you can't really do that. So I don't think that's really a goal, because I've kind of done that as well. So in my eveonline alliance careers, I've lived pretty much north, south, east, west. There's nowhere I've not lived. I even lived in the drone lands, which were terrible when they first came out. Apparently they're quite good now, but when I first came out, they didn't give ISK, they gave minerals, which was fine, but it was kind of annoying because you had to then move them all back to Empire. But, you know, fun. But my kind of feeling now is that ability to say, I experienced everything EVE had to offer. And I think that's a pretty good BHAG, to be honest. To say you did PvP, PvE, to say you did wormholes, to say you've done industry, to say you've done exploration, to say that you've, I don't know, fought drifters, you've fought Sanchas, you've done incursions. These are all kind of wonderful things. So I think it becomes a bit of a tick list, a bit of a checklist to say, well, I've done this, I've done that, and I've done that. And I'm really excited about that, because to me, again, you look for reasons to play. So many times, if you don't change things, things could get stagnant, things get stale, and before you know it, you've had a one-night stand with a multiplayer online game who's not called EVE, it's EVE's sister, and then you know you're in trouble now. And I think that's my problem, is I don't want to feel like this game could be switched off. I'm not saying it's switched off, but I do worry that with things like EVE Frontiers and so on, I think a lot of interest will leave from this game. And when Frontiers comes online, let's be honest, the majority of people who are going to play EVE Frontiers are people that play EVE Online. So you're going to see this drop of like half to move into that game. Now, I don't know, I guess the revenue will balance the same, so I guess maybe the CCP don't care. But there is a bit of a risk of that, where this very, I don't want to say overcrowded game, but this game that currently a lot of people play in a very concentrated area, obviously there's loads of areas where it's not that busy, could suddenly become quiet. And I think that, again, would make me sad. I have played EVE Frontiers. I don't know what I'm allowed to say or not, but my perception of the game, I think it's fair to say, I think I can say this, is you don't meet a lot of people. And when you do, it means something. So that's interesting. So I think that could be possibly where the game is going. So for me, maybe that becomes a bit of a challenge, but there we go. So there we go. We looked at playing the market. Definitely give that a go. Look on the EVE forums, look on the Blueprints channel, which is a chat channel you can access in the game. Look for people selling things that maybe they're selling them in desperation. Buy them, sell them. I've done that a few times in my time. Thorax blueprints do quite well if you're interested. You don't make big money in terms of billions, but you do make money. And definitely give flipping the table a go. I think particularly now, because I do feel that maybe we're running slightly out of time. There we go. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time.